for life.
Yeah. Okay.
And he says a man and a woman, and then he says, well, I don't have to prove that it should be between a man and a woman. Well, if you're if your criteria is in a relationship for life.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back.
Okay, we got our phone call back. Thanks. Good evening, NLC Trans. You're on the air.
Hi, how are you?
Howdy.
Hey, listen, I'd like to talk about actually I had called originally for another reason.
Okay.
But since listening to you, I have a, I don't know, comment, question, whatever.
Okay.
I have a daughter who is 43 years old. Okay? Another one who is 36 years old.
Okay.
And they both are married, and when they walk down the aisle in their world, I did not accompany the first one, which really hurt me.
Right.
And the second one was sort of, you know, at a house and that kind of a thing, and I led her to, I don't know, the altar, if you will,
Sure.
some kind of an altar. But I never realized, and I still don't to this day, and I never thought that it was giving my daughter away. I was raised in the 50s and 60s, and when you were, when there was a wedding, the father walked down the aisle with the daughter, and my mother or father never said to me that you are learning, or I know it was taught in high school or grammar school, that this thing about giving a daughter away. I never thought of it that way. And of course, my oldest daughter, whom I did not have any involvement with walking down the aisle, was very involved with Now, and you know, went to a lot of, should I say, demonstrations and things like that.
Okay.
Which her and I still support today. And she said that if she had to do it over again, she would definitely ask me to walk her down the aisle.
Yeah.
And my daughter's husband, you know, I have a granddaughter, and a grandson, and they both strongly feel that they would, the father would love to, you know, when the time comes, walk her down the aisle. I don't see it as a controlling issue.
Right. Well, it's come to be very traditional.
It's not.
I'll hang up and let someone else call.
Okay.
And
Thank
listen
you.
to your answer.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, I certainly think that the origins of a ceremony may have a different meaning sort of than what it evolves. I mean, it doesn't retain the same meaning over time, and I think we've given it a different meaning over time. I think it's come to be a way for the parent who loves this child dearly to participate in what is perhaps their greatest life event.
It's seen as a blessing on the relationship.
Right.
You know, your parent approves of this union. This is a show of respect and love. That is what it's come to mean. However, you know, 600, 1,000, 1,500 years ago, that wasn't the origin of it.
Right.
Right. So it is.
But it has evolved.
Our culture
as our culture has
evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
It's a good thing, but it's,
you know, and we do still use that phrase, giving away your daughter.
Yeah.
Of course, in Leviticus, it tells you how much to sell your daughter for into marriage. But
ultimately, I think you're really welcoming someone else into your family.
Yes,
or joining two families.
That practice in the ceremony of marriage has taken on a whole different meaning from what it originally had. It's still sort of the same motion that you go through, But it has. It's taken on a much different cultural meaning. It's not seen today in that light. But it's an example of how using the phrase traditional marriage harkens back to a time when that's not how they looked at it.
Yeah.
When there wasn't an equality between men and women. And I don't think when these people talk about traditional marriage, they are really being fair about what marriage used to mean to people.
Right.
When they say that this is the way it's been throughout history, well, you're only looking at one small piece of it. Marriage throughout history was a very different thing than it is today. Today we believe in relationships based on mutual respect and love, and the marriage ceremonies come to reflect those values.
Yeah. And being a man and a woman, or a woman and a woman, or a man and a man has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Right. I mean, it's more and more we're seeing that sexual orientation, as well as sexual identity, different different issues sound similar, have their origins in developmental biology. I mean, one, therefore God did it, and He didn't do it to provide a population of people to abuse. Two, it's a question of basic human dignity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ceremony is good. I like ceremony. I would love to have my father walk me down the aisle. Of course, my father is long gone, and I miss him dearly. But it has nothing to do with, the origins. Many things we do. We do a lot of things that are ceremonial that have origins that are dark.
Yeah.
But it's just.
Or even not nefarious. A good deal of the rules around kosher foods harken back to a time when there wasn't significant sanitation, and it was a way to keep your population from ingesting bad food.
Right.
Yeah, things change. Hopefully for the better. We have another call. Good evening, NLC Trans. You're on the air.
You honestly believe men and women are equal in a marriage?
Oh, that's sort of a different issue, isn't it?
You were just talking about it, though.
No, not. I frankly, you're right. I tend to prefer the word equitable than equal, but I do think things have gotten better now than they were 500 years ago.
Perhaps, but the father still gives the daughter away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I felt like property in my marriage.
Did you really? Yes.
I honestly
well,
did.
There you go.
I lived with both husbands before I married them to make sure everything was going to work out.
Right.
And everything was fine until the marriage happened. The piece of paper was signed, and I became property.
Wow.
I think you raise a good point there, that there is certainly a danger in sort of this cultural mentality that can happen when you become quote unquote married. Mm-hmm. These were people that you were getting along with, or you wouldn't have gotten to the aisle with them.
Exactly.
And then something about the perspective on your relationship changed after that ceremony.
That seems to happen a lot.
I had no idea what was happening until we were having problems, and I think you should leave came up.
Oh, gosh.
I was totally oblivious. I was happy in my marriage and never had a fight with my husband until I came home one night and he told me I should leave.
Wow. That's
it was
horrible.
just surprising.
That's
and
horrible.
The second marriage, I walked away because I would have been bankrupt if I kept in it.
Right.
It was just so one-sided on everything that it just wasn't fair.
Right. Well, and of course, sure, that certainly bears on the notion of mutual respect. If he's he's not respecting you very much, then
No, I was
he's
the
putting you in
babysitter
that position.
for his child, my stepdaughter. It was so frustrating. And now I'm with someone, we've been together for 10 years, and he's never been married. And I don't want to get married again. I don't want that heartbreak one more time.
Yeah.
I don't think I could take it.
Sure. Well, and that's a perfectly valid point, that you don't have to be married to be in a successful relationship.
Exactly.
Right.
But
and I don't want the piece of paper to make the change
Right.
again.
Right. And just like you, just like you feel that way, there are same-sex couples that feel they need to have the piece of paper for legitimacy.
And that's understandable.